Yeah. Shall we go read through Genesis 9 to Genesis 41, and we will learn about our Joshua and Joshua got thrown into jail, and how Pharaoh's dreams were, or how like they were, but and after that we'll read the notes. And also, if you like this video so far, if you want to subscribe, then that's okay with me. But if you like it so far, consider like or subscribe. But yeah, but let's get into reading. Yeah. Genesis 9, Joshua and Potiphar's wife. Now Joshua had been taken down to Egypt. Potiphar, an Egyptian who has one of Pharaoh's officers, the captain of the guard, brought him from the Israelites who had taken him there. The Lord was with Joshua, so that he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. Whether his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did, Joshua found favor in his eyes. It becomes his attendant. Potiphar put him in charge of his household, and he entrusted to his care everything he owned. From the time he put him in charge of his household and of all that he owned, the Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian because of Joshua. The blessing of the Lord was on everything. Potiphar had both in the house and in the field. So Potiphar left everything he had in Joshua's care. Was Joshua in charge? He did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate. Now Joshua was well built and handsome, and after a while his master's wife took notice of Joshua and said, "Come to bed with me." But he refused. With me in charge, he told her, "My master does not concern himself with anything in the house. Everything he owns, he has entrusted to my care. No one is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife." But he refused. With me in charge, he told her, "My master does not concern himself with anything in the house. Everything he owns, he has entrusted to my care. No one is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" And though she spoke to Joshua day after day, he refused to go to bed with her or even be with her. One day he went into the house to attend his duties, and none of the household servants was inside. She caught him by his cloak and said, "Come to bed with me." But he left his cloak in her hand and went out of the house. Then she saw that he had left his cloak in her hand and had run out of the house. She called her household servants. "Look," she said to them, "this Hebrew has been brought to us to make sport of us. He came in here to sleep with me, but I screamed. When he heard me scream for help, he left his cloak beside me and went out of the house." Then she told him this story: "That Hebrew slave you brought us came to me to make sport of me, but as soon as I screamed for help, he left his cloak beside me and went out of the house." When his master heard the story, his wife told him, saying, "This is how your slave treated me." He bowed with anger. Jasper's master took him and put him in prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined. But while Jasper was there in the prison, a lamb was with him. He showed him kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison warden. So the warden put Jasper in charge of all those held in the prison, and he was made responsible for all that was done there. Here. But while Jasper was there in the prison, the Lord was with him. He showed him kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison warden. So the warden put Jasper in charge of all those held in the prison, and he was made responsible for all that was done there. The warden paid no attention to anything Jasper's care, because the Lord was with Jasper and gave him success in whatever he did. Jealous story: the cupbearer and the baker. Sometime later, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt offended their master. The king of Egypt, Pharaoh, was angry with his two officers, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, and put them in custody in the house of the captain of the guard, in the same prison where Jasper was confined. The captain of the guard assigned them to Jasper, and he attended them. After they had been in custody for some time, each of the two men, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were being held in prison, had a dream. The same night, and each dream had a meaning of its own. When Jasper came to them the next morning, he saw that they were dejected. So he asked Pharaoh's officers who were in custody with him in his master's house, "Why do you look so sad today?" "We both had dreams," they answered, "but there is no one to interpret them." Then Jasper said to them, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me your dreams." So the chief bearer told Jasper his dream. He said to him, "In my dream I saw a vine in front of me, and on the vine were three branches. As soon as it budded, it blossomed, and it clusters ripened into grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, squeezed them into Pharaoh's cup, and put the cup in his hand. That is what it means. Joshua said to him, the 3 branches are 3 days. You will put Pharaoh's cup in his hand, just as you used to do when you were his cupbearer. But when all goes well with you, remember me and show me kindness. Mention me to Pharaoh and get me out of this prison. I was forcibly carried off from the land of the Hebrews, and even here I have done nothing to deserve being put in a dungeon. When the chief baker saw that Joshua had given a favorable interpretation, he said to Joshua, I too had a dream. On my head were 3 baskets of bread. In the top basket were all kinds of baked goods for Pharaoh, but the birds were eating them out of the basket on my head. This is what it means. Joshua said, the 3 baskets are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift off your head and impale your body on a pole, and the birds will eat away your flesh. That's cool stuff. Now the 3rd day was Pharaoh's birthday, and he gave a feast for all his officers. He lifted up the heads of the chief cupbearer and the chief baker in the presence of his officers. He restored the chief cupbearer to his position, so that he was again put the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But he impaled the chief baker, just as Joshua had said to them in his interpretations. The chief cupbearer, however, did not remember Joshua. He forgot him. Genesis 41, Pharaoh's dreams. When 2 full years had passed, Pharaoh had a dream. He was standing by the Nile when out of the river there came up 7 cows, sleek and fat, and they grazed among the weeds after them. 7 other cows, ugly and gaunt, came up out of the Nile and stood beside those on the riverbank, and the cows that were ugly and grunt ate up their 7 sleek, fat cows. Then Pharaoh woke up. He fell asleep again and had a second dream. 7 heads of grain, healthy and good, were growing on a single stalk. After them, 7 other heads of grain sprouted, thin and scrunched by the east wind. The thin heads of grain swallowed up the 7 healthy, full heads. Then Pharaoh woke up. It had been a dream. In the morning, his mind was troubled, so he sent for all the master-kids and wise men of Egypt. Pharaoh told them his dreams, but no one could interpret them for him. And the chief cupbearer said to Pharaoh, today I am reminded of my shortcomings. Pharaoh told them his dreams, but no one could interpret them for him. Then the chief cupbearer said to Pharaoh, today I am reminded of my shortcoming. Pharaoh was once angry with his servants, and he imprisoned me and the chief baker in the house of the captain of the guard. Each of us had a dream the same night, and each dream had a meaning of its own. Now a young Hebrew was there with us, a servant of the captain of the guard. Each of us had a dream the same night, and each dream had a meaning of its own. Now a young Hebrew was there with us, a servant of the captain of the guard. He told him our dreams, and he interpreted them for us, giving each man the interpretation of his dreams. The things told out exactly as he interpreted them to us. I was restored to my position, and the other man was impelled. So Pharaoh sent for Joshua, and he was quickly brought from the dungeon when he had saved and changed his clothes. He came before Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Joshua, I had a dream, and no one can interpret it, but I have heard it said of you that when you hear a dream, you can interpret it. But I have heard it said of you that when you hear a dream, you can interpret it. I cannot do it, Joshua replied to Pharaoh, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires. Then Pharaoh said to Joshua, in my dream, I was standing on the bank of the Nile when out of the river there came up the 7 cows, fat and sleek, and they grazed among the reeds after them. 7 other cows came up, screaming and very ugly and lean. I had never seen such ugly cows on the land of Egypt. Lean, ugly cows ate up the 7 fat cows that came up first, but even after they ate them, no one could tell that they had done so. They looked just as ugly as before. Then I woke up. In my dream, I saw 7 heads of grain full and good, growing on a single stalk. After them, 7 other heads sprouted, rather in thin, and squelched by the east wind. The thin heads of grain shot up the 7 good heads. I told this to the messengers, but none of them could explain it to me. And Joshua said to Pharaoh, the dreams of Pharaoh are one and the same. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good heads of grain are 7 years. It is one and the same dream. The 7 lean, ugly cows that came up afterward are 7 years, and so are the 7 worthless heads of grain scorched by the east wind. There are 7 years of famine. It is just as I said to Pharaoh. God has showed Pharaoh what he is about to do. 7 years of great abundance are coming throughout the land of Egypt, but 7 years of famine will follow them. Then all the abundance in Egypt will be forgotten, and the famine will ravage the land. The abundance in the land will not be remembered. The famine will ravage the land. The abundance in the land will not be remembered, because the famine that follows it will be so served. The reason the dream was given to Pharaoh in 2 forms is that the matter has been firmly decided by God, and God will do it soon. And now let Pharaoh look for a discerning and wise man, and put him in charge of the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh appoint commissions over the land to take a fifth of the harvest of Egypt. During the 7 years of abundance, they should collect all the food of these good years that are coming and store up the gain under the authority of Pharaoh to be kept in the cities for food. This food should be held in reserve for the country to be used during the 7 years of famine that will come upon Egypt, so that the country may not be ruined by the famine. The plan seemed good to Pharaoh and to all his officers, so Pharaoh asked them, "Can we find anyone like this man? One in Rome is the Spirit of God?" Then Pharaoh said to Joshua, "Since God has made all this known to you, there is no one so discerning and wise as you. You shall be in charge of my palace, and all my people are to submit to your orders. Only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you." Joshua in charge of Egypt. So Pharaoh said to Joshua, "I hereby put you in charge of the whole land of Egypt." And Pharaoh took his second ring from his finger and put it on Joshua's finger. He dressed him in robes of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck. He had him ride in a chariot as his second in command, and people shouted before him, "Make way!" Lo, he put him in charge of the whole land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said to Joshua, "I am Pharaoh, but without your word no one will lift hand or foot in all Egypt." Pharaoh gave Joshua the name Zaphenath Paneah, and gave him Asenath, daughter of Pat-I-Peor, priest of On, to be his wife. And Joshua went throughout the land of Egypt. Joshua was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and Joshua went out from Pharaoh's presence and traveled throughout Egypt during 7 years of abundance. The land produced plentifully. Joshua collected all the food produced in those 7 years of abundance in Egypt, and stored it in the cities. In each city he put the food grown in the fields surrounding it. Joshua stored up huge quantities of grain, like the sand of the sea. It was so much that he stopped keeping records because it was beyond measure. Before the years of famine came, 2 sons were born to Joshua by Asenath, daughter of Pat-I-Peor, priest of On. Joshua named his firstborn Manasseh, and said, "It is because God has made me forget all my trouble and all my father's household." The second son he named Ephraim, and said, "It is because God had made me fruitful in the land of my suffering." The 7 years of abundance in Egypt came to an end, and the 7 years of famine began. Just as Joshua had said, there was famine all the other lands, but in the whole land of Egypt there was food. When all Egypt began to feel the famine, the people cried to Pharaoh for food, and Pharaoh told all the Egyptians, "Go to Joshua and do what he tells you." When the famine had spread over the whole country. Jasper opened all the storehouses and sold gain to all the Egyptians for the famine. When the famine had spread over the whole country, Jasper opened all the storehouses and sold gain to the Egyptians, for the famine was served throughout Egypt, and all the world came to Egypt to buy grain from Jasper, because the famine was served everywhere. Dear God the Father, I am thankful for this reader, and I thank the people who are listening to it or watching it, and I pray that for these people who are watching or listening to this will not fall into Joshua's will not fall into traps like Joshua and Potter's wife, and not to fall into traps by women or what, but to be like Joshua, and avoid those traps, like avoid those lustful or adultery traps. We should avoid them all costs, as best. And give these people wisdom to know the dreams they have gotten from the dreams they have dreamed through their naps or sleeps. In the name of Jesus, amen. Okay. So we just learned about how Jasper got thrown into prison because of Potiphar's wife, for some reason. Because after Potiphar's wife saying, "Go with me in bed. Come on, Jasper. Come with me into bed." Jasper, nope, I am not. And for the last time, and Potiphar's wife actually for the last time, and Jasper probably maybe got angry or just threw his robe to her, and Potiphar's wife decides to, I think, lie, and then Jasper left. And after that, Potiphar go to the servants or the king or his husband, that is the Pharaoh, and ask him that Jasper did this something with her, and say, "Jasper rape me," or whatever, but basically Potiphar's wife just lied to his husband, and Pharaoh just falls for it. Basically, don't. And also, you guys, if someone is telling you a lie or something, try not to fall into it. Try not to simply fall into it like Pharaoh did, and just place Jasper into jail with the baker and the cupbearer. Now soon, Pharaoh impaled, I think, the baker. Yeah, it was the baker. So, let's see what the notes have to say about it. Genesis 9 verse 1. The date of Jasper's arrival in Egyptian debatable. Many believe he arrived during the period of the Hyksos rulers, Pharaohs who controlled Egypt for almost 150 years. If Jasper arrived around their rule, it is easy to see why he was rapidly promoted up the royal ladder, because the Hyksos were Pharaohs themselves. They would not hold this brilliant young Pharaoh's ancestor against him. Genesis 9, verse 1. Pharaoh was the general name for all the kings of Egypt. It was a title like king or president used to address the country's leader. The Pharaoh who placed Joshua in charge of Egypt was a different person from the Pharaoh who enslaved the Hebrews in the book of Exodus. Yes, no. Genesis 9, verse 1. Ancient Egypt was a land of great contrasts. People were either rich beyond measure or poverty-stricken. There wasn't much middle ground. Joshua found himself serving Pa'ai, an extremely rich officer in Pharaoh's service, rich families like Pa'ai, an extremely rich officer in Pharaoh's service. Rich families like Pa'ai had elegant homes with beautiful gardens. They enjoyed live entertainment at home as they chose delicious food from expensive bowls. They surrounded themselves with vases, paintings, beautiful rags, and hard-carved chairs. Dinner was served on garden tableware, and the rooms were lighted with gold lampstands. Let's learn about the Egyptian world, what we all learn about from the notes. Genesis 9, verse 9. Pa'ai's wife failed to seduce Joshua, who resisted this temptation by saying it would be a sin against God. Joshua didn't say, I've been hunting you, or I've been sinning against Pa'ai, or I'd be sinning against myself. Under pressure, such excuses are easily away. Remember that sexual sin is not just between two consenting adults. It is an act of disobedience against God. Yep. If you decide to do sexual sin, then it is an act of disobedience against God. That means not listening to Him or not listening to Him. Genesis 9, verse 10 through 15. Joshua avoided Pa'ai's wife as much as possible. He refused her advances and finally ran from her, sometimes merely trying to avoid temptations. Temptation is not enough. We must turn and run from it. Exactly when the temptation seems very strong. As is often the case with sexual temptation. Genesis 9, verse 20. Prisons were grim places with violent conditions. They were used to house forced laborers, or like Joshua the accursed, who was awaiting trial. Prisoners were guilty until proven innocent, and there was no right to a speedy trial. Many prisoners never made it to court because trials were held at the whim of the ruler. Joshua was in prison for a long time before he appeared before Pharaoh, and then he was called out to interpret a dream, not to stand trial. Genesis 9, verse 21 through 23. As a prisoner enslaved, Joshua could have seen his situation as hopeless. Instead, he he did his best with each small task, given his delinquents and a positive. Delinquents is like discipline, but not quit and not being like a lazy hoe who just lay on the couch or lay on a chair watching TV all day. Like, come on, you gotta do something different besides watching TV and play video games all day. Like, come on, you gotta do something different. Be like a disciplined and diligent person. Like, do some exercise or go outside instead of being inside. You have to enjoy nature if you want to go outside. So go outside, people. If you think you are that diligent, or do some workout, or do a workout, or take a shower, or take a bath. I don't know what shower or bath you take, but I can't read your minds. A positive attitude was soon noticed by the warden, who promoted him to prison administrator. Are you facing a seemingly hopeless predicament at work, at home, or at school? Follow Joseph's example by taking each small task and doing your best. Remember how God turned Joseph's situation around. He will see your efforts and can reverse even overwhelming odds. Nice to know. Follow Joseph's example of doing these stuff or dealing with sexual sin or any sin. So yeah. Genesis 40, verse 1 through 3. The cupbearer and the baker were two of the most trusted men in Pharaoh's kingdom. The baker was in charge of making Pharaoh's food, and the cupbearer tasted Pharaoh's wine before giving it to him to make sure it was not contaminated or poisonous. These trusted men must have been suspected or of a serious wrong, perhaps of conspiring against Pharaoh. Later, the cupbearer was released and the baker executed. That means he got impaled on a pole, and soon the cupbearer will get the same thing. Genesis 40, verse 8. When the subject of dreams came up, Jasper focused everyone's attention on God rather than using the situation to make himself look good. He turned it into a powerful witness for the Lord. One secret of effective witnessing is to recognize opportunities to relate God to the other person's experience. When an opportunity arises, we must have the courage to speak as Jasper did. Yep, we should have the courage to do it. Genesis 40, verse 23. When Pharaoh's cupbearer was freed from prison, he forgot about Jasper. 2 full years passed before Jasper and had another opportunity to be fed. Genesis 41, verse 1. Yet Jasper's faith was deep, and he would be ready when the next chance come. When we feel passed by, overlooked, or forgotten, we shouldn't be surprised that people are often ungrateful in similar situations. We should trust God as Jasper did. Better opportunities may be waiting. Genesis 41, verse 8. Magicians and wise men were common in the palaces of ancient rulers. Their job description included studying skilled scarred arts and science, reading the stars, interpreting dreams, predicting the future, and performing magic. These men have power. See Exodus 7, verse 11 through 12. But their power was satanic. Sure was. They were unstable to interpret Pharaoh's dream, but God revealed its interpretation to Joshua. Genesis 41, verse 14. Our most appointed opportunities may come when we least expect them. Joshua was brought hastily from the dungeon and pushed before Pharaoh. Did he have time to prepare? Yes or no? He had no warning that he would be suddenly pulled from prison and questioned by the king. Yet Joshua was ready for almost anything because of his right relationship with God. It was not Joshua's knowledge of dreams that helped him interpret their meaning. It was his knowledge of God. Be ready for opportunities by staying close to God when he calls you to a task, you be ready. Always be ready. If God have tasked you with something, always be ready. Don't be unready, but be ready always. Genesis 41, verse 16. Joshua made sure that he gave the credit to God. We should be careful to do the same. To take the honor for ourselves is a form of stealing God's honor. Don't be silent when you know you should be giving glory and credit to God. Don't be silent all the time, but always when you know you should be giving glory and credit to God. Always give credit and glory to God. Always. Genesis 41, verse 28 through 36. After interpreting Pharaoh's dreams, Joshua gave the king a survival plan for the next 14 years. The only way to prevent starvation was through careful planning. Without a strenuous plan, Egypt would have turned from prosperity to ruin. Many find detailed planning boring and unnecessary, but planning is an important responsibility. It is not optional. Joshua was able to save a nation by translating what God had revealed about Egypt's future into a practical plan and then interpreting it. Genesis 41, verse 38. Pharaoh recognized that Joshua was a man filled with God's Spirit. You probably won't get to interpret dreams for a king, but those who know you should be able to see God in you through your kind words, merciful acts, and wise advice. Do your relatives, neighbors, and co-workers see you as a person who whom the Spirit of God lives? Genesis 41, verse 39 through 40. Joshua rose quickly to the top from prison walls to Pharaoh's palace. His training for this appointed position involved being first a slave and then a prisoner in each situation. He learned the importance of serving God and others. Whatever your situation, no matter how unstable, consider it part of your training program for serving God. Genesis 41, verse 45. Pharaoh may have been trying to make Joshua acceptable to the Egyptians by giving him an Egyptian name and wife. He probably wanted to play down the fact that Jasper was a noble shepherd and elocution disliked by the Egyptians. 2. Make Jasper's name easier for Egyptians to pronounce, remember. And 3. Show how highly he was honored by giving him the daughter of a prominent Egyptian officer to be his wife. Okay. Genesis 41 verse 46. Jasper was 30 years old when he became second in command in Egypt at age 17. He had been sold into slavery by his brothers. He had spent 13 years as an Egyptian slave and as a prisoner. Genesis 41 verse 54. Pharaoh was a castle here because ancient peoples relied almost exclusively on their own crops for food. Almost perfect conditions were needed to produce good crops, because irrigation was difficult in most places and peace control was impossible. Any villages and rainfall or insect activity could cause crop failure and great hunger, lack of storage, refrigeration, or transportation. Turn and moderate famine into a desperate situation. The famine Jasper prepared for was exactly so, because 7 years of famine come one right after the other. Without God's intervention, the Egyptian nation would have crumbled. As you know, the notes will teach us a new thing through the Egyptian time or through Jasper's time in Egypt. Like, he once became a slave, now got sent by, and after that he got saved. He got into slavery in 17. Well, he got sold by his brothers at age 17 and spent 13 years as an Egyptian slave and as a prisoner. So remember to be like Jasper and use Jasper example, like not falling into a sin that someone is saying, like someone wants you to get into a sin. Don't go into that, but do Jasper's example and follow his ways, but always follow God's ways and Jesus' ways. For we know that Jesus is the way to heaven. He is the way to heaven, and we should have faith in Jesus. We should have faith in Jesus. And this will be a new thing, but every time we always have a last word to say to end the video. Which is Amen.